everybody. It's Grandma Nancy here from the Grand Rapids Area Library. Today we are going to paint a bear. It's a very fun project. They're super cute. I think you'll enjoy it. Before we start though, I just wanted to explain why I picked painting bears today. I've always been fascinated by bears. I think they have a really interesting life. You know, they hibernate in the winter time and they'll sleep in the winter time for 5 to 6 months. That's a long time. So they have to eat a lot of food before they go into hibernation. They'll hibernate, they'll find all kinds of places to hibernate. They don't necessarily make a big fancy place to hibernate. They find what's already out there. For example, if it's an old tree that fell down and there's a big old stump, they might make a hole in there. They don't need a lot of space. They can curl up even though they're a big animal. And even though many of them go into hibernation with cubs, they don't need a lot of space. They get all snuggy in there. They also might make a little den where trees have fallen down and they've a lot of brush. I know that you've probably seen that in the woods. They'll just go right in there. They've even been known to go to sleep under people's cabins and their porches, which is, you know, kind of interesting. If people aren't using their cabin, they might find that they have a bear hibernating there. Bears go into hibernation according to the weather. So it's very interesting. We just had a really nice week. We've had such warm weather, 50, 60 degrees out, the sun's shining. If the bears had already gone into hibernation, which many may have, because prior to that we had a really cold snap. During the warm snap, when they first go to sleep, they wake up and they come back out. So chances are if bears were hibernating this week, they came back out and then they would go back in. They'll do the same thing in the spring. On warm, sunny days, even if there's snow still on the ground, they'll come out and just cruise around, see if there's anything to eat, and then go back in and sleep. So in the beginning of hibernation, at the end, they've been known to leave the den, but in the dead of winter, they're definitely sleeping. There's so many books. I was just checking out the books in the library. There are so many books about bears. They make for a good story. This one is Bruce the Bear, and many of you know the Bruce the Bear stories. There's lots of Bruce the Bear stories. There's a Halloween one, a Thanksgiving one, a Christmas one, and this one is Mother Bruce instead of Mother Goose. He's very comical. I think you'll enjoy these books if you haven't already read them. And come down to the Grand Rapids Area Library and pick one up. This one is also a series, and it's about a friendship between a bear and a mole. So it's kind of a cute stories. There's several of these also. So bear and mole are friends in that book. Those are stories. They're fiction, they're make-believe, and they get into all kinds of adventures. Then also, there are many non-fiction books, or books that you can get facts, scientific facts about bears. And this is what I like. I like to read a lot of facts about bears. There are real photographs in here of real bears. And I'll just read you a fact. Bears' sharp claws help it hunt for food. And you can see it has really sharp claws. Bears tend to, they'll turn over a dead stump in the woods and then paw at it and get all kinds of grubs and worms and things like that to eat. They'll also take their claws and pull blueberries off of plants. They don't pick them necessarily one by one. They'll take a handful. So those are what we call non-fiction books. This one too, Black Bears. This one is a series of animals that live in the wild, our wild world. So there's all kinds of different Our Wild World books. There's books on moose, there's books on deer, and again, we have real photographs. And you can see, this is the thing that I love about bears, is they're just such a cute animal, and they're so amazing. So there we have all kinds of things there too. And I think this is where they're eating some blueberries. So for a big animal, they do have to eat a lot, and they need a lot of calories this time of year. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I thought we would just make the bear's face, okay? Kind of reminds me of Bruce. A lot of the covers of Bruce's books, they're just his face. So that's what we're gonna do. And I also thought I'd let you know that in Minnesota we have just black bears. Sometimes somebody will see a bear that has brown fur or lighter fur. It's not the dark black. It's still a black bear because that's what we have in Minnesota. Black bears sometimes are cinnamon colored, sometimes they're brown, sometimes they're very dark black, and sometimes they're a combination. Okay, so hopefully you have your kit from the Grand Rapids Area Library. If you don't have it, you can send Mom or Dad down and they can pick it up for you. And we'll see what we have in there. Oops, I already took those out. I took out my watercolor paint. And we have paper. So again, you can do a second bear, or you could do another animal. Or it would kind of be fun to have a book from the Grand Rapids Area Library and try to draw something from your book. And then we have a simple black crayon. So it's nice to know we don't have a lot of supplies today. We have paint, crayon, and paper. And it's really nice to know that you can do all kinds of projects with very little supplies. You don't need a lot of fancy supplies to do your project. So if you want to get set up, you will need a cup of water. So you can use the paints. And if your adult thinks you should have newspaper underneath the activity, that's great. You can set up now, and then we'll get going doing our bear. All right, I have my paper here. And we're just gonna kind of look at this guy. So we'll just draw the head, and then I just kind of added some shoulders. It might be fun with your second piece of paper if you want to draw the whole bear's body, but we're just gonna focus on the face today. All right, I'm gonna start by looking at my paper, and I'm gonna go, here's about the middle. Here's about the middle. I'm gonna go just a little bit down, and I'm going to make an oval going this way. You can do it whichever way you want. Notice on this one, I went horizontally. This time, I'm gonna try to go vertically like this. So this is basically going to be his snout. A bear's snout sticks out, and then at the end they have that black nose. A black nose right there. And then that I'm gonna color in with my crayon. So far we've made the bear's snout. That would be the snout of the bear, okay? And then I'm not gonna really make the mouth. His mouth is closed, or her mouth is closed, but I'm just gonna make a little, where the lips would go. And then I'm just gonna make some little dots here. Circle around, circle around, circle around. Does that beginning to look like a bear's snout? Okay, So now I want to make the bear's head. I'm making the bear's head now. You can make it, this one's pretty perfectly round. And this one I made just a little bit more of an oval. Now here got off a little bit, but you can't really tell that, can you? Okay, what should we make next? I think next we'll make the ears. And I'm gonna make one ear, I'm gonna come up like this, and then I'm gonna come down, and then I'm gonna take my fingers so I know where to start next. I'm gonna come up, and then I'm gonna come down. Then I wanna make the ears a little more interesting, so I'm gonna make the inside of the ear, and I'm gonna color that dark. Now you can make your ears any shape you want. I rounded them. You might want them to be a little bit more pointed, but you don't want them totally pointed. And I'll color that inside in, and I'm actually pushing fairly hard with my crayon. And it might break, but that's okay. So I'm gonna color that in. Okay, just go over this a little bit. I don't want any white showing. Oh, he's looking cute. Now bears have little eyes. So I'm just gonna make 2 circles here. Okay, and then I'm gonna make an eyeball, but watch what I do. I'm gonna come in pretty slowly as I'm coloring that in, and I'm gonna leave a little white. If you end up missing that and coloring the whole thing in, that's totally fine. And I'm gonna do it again, and I left a little white, okay? Then let's see, I'll just make his shoulders coming down like this. Okay, so now I want him, we're gonna paint him in, but I also want him to look furry. How is he gonna look furry? He's gonna look furry by these little dashes I made. And you can see some of them are done with crayon, and some of them are actually done with paint. I wanted to do both so we could make it look like texture, right? Okay, so we're just gonna make, and you can make them how you want. I want you to, you know, take your time and push down fairly hard. This is like individual fur. It's gonna give him some texture. So you're making little dashes, little dashes. You get to decide. It's your art. You decide, do you want a lot of dashes? Do you want a few? Where could I use some more? Do you want them curvy? Do you want them straight? How do you want your dashes? And then I'll make some also on his body. I'll make some on his body. That's gonna be nice, right? Okay, he's ready to paint. Now, in painting, you're gonna look at your colors, and again, what I love about the paint colors that come from the Grand Rapids Area Library is we won't use all the colors, so you'll have paint to do another project someday, which will be great. You can make a decision. So this is the black and this is the brown. Isn't that interesting? They're both at the ends. Brown, black. You can decide if you want to paint your black bear black or if you want to paint your black bear brown, because remember, that's what we have in Minnesota, and so you can decide. You wouldn't want to get a lot of water on your brush because of the seal it has. I think I'm gonna do kind of a combination, and I'll show you what I mean. You can do what you want. I'm gonna get quite a bit of water. So I have my brown, now I can see it's reacting to the brush and the water. So I'm gonna get quite a bit on there. And then I'm gonna come through and I'm gonna paint his snout. And you know, it's really fun that because I colored heavily with my crayon, I can go right over the snout. I can go right over the snout. And I'm gonna go right over that nose too, because there's a little white in there, and that brown covers that up. So there I go. Okay. Now, you can paint the entire bear brown. We'll try to leave this part white though. Or you could decide to use the black. And I'm gonna decide to use the black. And I'll come around. And your black crayon, if you colored heavily enough when you made your little dashes, it should go right over that black crayon and you can still see the black through there. If it's not, and you're using black, you might want to redo some of those, right? And I'm just kind of going around. Go around my eye. I want to keep that black out of the eye if I can. And then you can see the difference. This is a little bit dark. I'm going to pull some of that paint out and bring it over here. And that's okay. This one is a little bit darker area. You can move the paint around. And it's not going to necessarily be uniform everywhere, but that's okay because that gives the bear some texture in his fur. So it might be a little darker paint up here and around the snout. And it spreads nicely, this watercolor does. And I dip my brush and get more paint, and then I might go over here a little bit. And as you leave it alone, you know, as you move on to the next part, it moves and fills in on little areas that you might have missed. And then you can always go back to. So hopefully you're painting now. You don't have to keep up with me. I've done this a lot. So I work a little faster than most people. I'm trying to move my paint so it looks like there's some texture, but I don't want it to look too liney. We'll see what happens as that dries. I might come back in, move the paint. I'm trying to stay within his head, but you know what? If you go out of his body and his head, it's okay, because that's just going to, once you finish the background, that'll just maybe look like a shadow or something. So I don't worry if I go out of the lines too much, because that just becomes part of the art. Now I realize I have to go around. I want to get around that snout a little bit more, and I'm actually going right into it a little bit, but that's okay. And then like that. So if you had a hard time deciding, do I want to do my bear black? Do I want to do my bear brown? It's very nice because you have 2 sheets of paper. You could do one of each and then see what you have there. Okay. Now, I like what I have here. I like it. I felt that was a little light there and it was a little light around his eye. So then I'm gonna see if I can move this paint kind of smoothly down. Okay, I'm gonna leave him now. It is darker on this one side, but again, it makes texture. Okay, now comes the really fun part, the background. So many choices, what to do. On this one, I used yellow. I went around his head with yellow, and then I came in when the yellow was still wet with orange, so they kind of ran together. So it looks like he's sitting in the sunset there. I think now I'm gonna make it a nice blue day. So I'm gonna get my blue, and I'm going to break that seal. If your water gets really mucky, you might want to get some clean water. Mine's pretty good though, so. Okay, I'm going to, oh my, that blue, I had forgotten how beautiful this blue is. This blue is gorgeous, isn't it? Oh, it's fantastic. It's so nice. And I'm just going across and across, covering my space, covering my space. Oh, that blue looks really nice with that black, don't you think? I think that yellow would look equally as nice, and orange, the orange is gorgeous too. Lots of good color choices in your paint palette today. See, I left it a little darker there. I'm gonna do that. You don't have to do that, but I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna come in here. Okay, like that. And then I'll come around like this. Now, what I'm gonna do, and you don't have to, I'm thinking about, this is the sky, right? And then I'm gonna have part of the land behind him. And I'm gonna come through with some green, and I'm gonna go right into the blue. Do you see how I did that? I got a lot of water in my brush, and my paint is still wet, so I'll come around, go around his head, so that gets right up there. And then I'm gonna come right into the blue. So I don't wanna go all the way up, but that green mixed with the blue, and I like that look, don't you? I like it. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to the other side and do the same thing, but this might have dried a little bit, so I'm just coming in with plain water. I'm just making it wet. And then I'll put some green paint, and look at what happens. Look what happens, that looks great. That looks great, and we'll go right into the blue there too. So we just let it sit. Look at how cool it looks on this side that we had done earlier. I like that. Okay, now I'm pretty much done, but I feel like he needs a little more texture. So I'm gonna come in with some black, and I'm gonna see if it works. I don't know if it will because, oh yes, yes, a little bit more, and I'm just making little dashes again, but this time I'm doing it with paint. And he's pretty much dried, so I'm coming in and making a few more. That one's a little big, but that's okay. That's okay, we don't worry about that. And then I'll get just a few more in here, okay? Now, if you did a black bear, you could try some brown dashes on top too, if you wanted to. You don't have to. You guys know when you want to stop. I'm just showing you that you could do this, okay? I'm not sure I like it as much as just sticking with one color. I feel like it looks like he has mosquito bites or something. Okay, so that's today's project. I hope you had a good time and that you come down to the Grand Rapids Area Library and check out some of these wonderful bear books. All right, get outside today. It's a nice day.